I'm going to be very honest with you guys. It is quite late at night, and this video calls for a candle session in a very relaxed environment. So settle in and let's talk about marriage and Paul. This video, specifically this topic, I've been trying to record since like the third or fourth video of this channel. And for some funny reason, the video always failed. Someone walked in. Today it's like 12:49. Thank you, Alexa. 12:49 a.m. on a Sunday, and no other perfect time than to discuss it now. So if I can adjust my camera, get right into it. So we look in Paul's writings that most specifically 1 Corinthians, where he writes to the church of Corinth, and he has a massive section on marriage. And one of the things he says in Corinthians that really irked me when I first read it was that it wasn't good to marry. And I was like, wait, what? Come on, I like to marry. So that really like urged me to start looking into the research and asking, why did Paul say not to marry? And I've come to some interesting conclusions, and I wanted to share them here with you. So one of the things that he did talk about was sex. So in the church of Corinth, a lot of people within the marriage were denying each other sex from each other, and they were married, and they were like, no, sex is unholy. We should abstain from it at all times. And they thought it would lead to purity, to be more closer to God. But instead of that, it actually turned into something worse, and they were cheating on each other, sexual impurity everywhere, and it was not a good scene. And Paul came and said in his letter, it's not good for couples to deny each other like that. It's not really good, because if you can't control yourselves, it's not for good. Now, controlling yourselves is for moving towards singles territory, but when you think about it, right, when you are a human and you desire your other, you desire the intimacy, and honestly just desire the feeling of sex. It's a beautiful thing. God made it for marriage. Under the sanctity of marriage, you should be able to enjoy it. An interesting thing that Paul talked about it, like sex within marriage, though, is that there is a time for celibacy. If you think it's right between you and your partner, if you both agree for a certain period to abstain from sex, it's pretty much fasting, right? You spend that time, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, abstaining from sex and becoming closer to the Lord in that prayer and that fasting. Food fasting is one of those things that it's just very difficult, and it's literally something, it's a physiological need, and you're testing your perseverance. I wouldn't say sex itself is a physiological need, but it's definitely something difficult to remove yourself from when you start. A lot of people, they do social media fasts. Now, that is something I don't actually see as a fast, because not only is it just like social media is overall very cringe and you shouldn't be much on it anyway, social media, it was simply not around in Jesus' time. People had no trouble not looking up social media and Instagram and seeing what other people are doing. And that in itself is one of those things that should just be avoided anyway. Like, there are some addictions that you shouldn't be having anyway. So having a fast from an addiction is one of those things, it's just a step toward leaving it entirely, which should be one of our goals. But with the idea of not of not like giving up your body for the sake of the marriage. That's kind of interesting because in the Bible, in that marriage, there's this concept that your body is not your own, but your spouse's. The two flesh become one, and under this relationship with each other, your actions, your body, your being, your brand as a human is now your spouse's. So when you think about, like, let's say if I got married, okay, now my body is hers, and she can do what she wishes to my body. And the same thing otherwise on the other side too. I can do with her as I please. Now, this doesn't mean that I go haywire, because Ephesians, husbands, respect your wives as as Christ loved the church. And this is interesting because marriage is a very, very, very biblical thing. It's a very spiritual thing. It's a very traditional thing. It's a very cultural thing. And all the time, like throughout the Bible, God has this theme of marriage throughout. You hear how Christ married the church. Christ died for the church. Christ gave himself up for the church, and the church is his wife. But another thing also is Israel. Um, Israel itself was God's wife. It was God's children too, but it also the Bible compared Israel to an adulterous wife at one point. And yeah, it's obviously like that image of someone who's just very betrayal and they don't want to listen to you and they just want to do their own thing. But why specifically a wife? God had that relationship with the Israelite people that that was his wife. God married the church, and in those times that people was Israel. And God gave himself up for those people. And that's who he was fighting for at that time. So in the same way, in the covenant of marriage, we give ourselves up for our wives, and not only just to sacrifice of our time and our energy and all these things, but our bodies too. And it makes me really happy personally when I think about when I train at the gym. Not only am I doing it for like myself, my health, business, for the sake of just looking good for investors, you're also creating a product of yourself that will please your wife. And not just in a weird way, just to make her happy. When she sees my frame, she thinks I'm so proud to have a handsome husband who trains himself and looks good and stays in good condition, so that when we come together, I enjoy it. Or even when I just look at him, I'm just proud of the work he puts in. And something that I hope my future wife will think about is her health, hopefully for my enjoyment. And that seems like a very superficial thing, I know, but it's after that point where the rings come on, my body is no longer my own. And if she wants my time, I will I will lay it on her luxuriously and in excess. I will spoil her with my time, because that is simply just one of the commitments that I will make to her now, at that point, that I am hers. And it's as simple as that. Um, so, a couple other things Paul says about married life. Now, he talks a lot about singles here. The question of Paul saying don't marry, it's not really in regards to people who's already has a commitment. Paul says, if you're already committed to a woman, don't try to change that situation. If you're married to a woman, don't don't leave. It's very, very unbiblical to leave just because your heart is hardened. Um, and as a side note, if your heart is hardened, that's a very serious indicator that there's a strain on the relationship, and an indicator that you as a man must step in and address that situation for the benefit of you and your wife in the relationship. But anyway, moving on. The reason why Paul um, is saying a kind of negative connotation to marriage is because this is actually what he says. It's a personal opinion of his. He writes it. Now, this is not necessarily the Lord's commandment, but in my personal opinion, this. And in this, he says, married life has a lot of strains, a lot of challenges that single people simply don't have to go through. Um, because single people have more time, more energy, freedom with finances, location, how when they need to sleep, and single people don't need to give up their bodies for another. So, with all this time, the idea is that you are essentially fully married to the Lord, and that you devote yourself and your passion completely to Him, and that's a whole beautiful life in itself. Um, but Paul says that this life is also not necessarily for everyone. This person has this gift, this person has a different gift, and depending on all of that, some experiences are simply not meant for people. Um, Now I want to tell you something. Like a lot on YouTube, people always talk about like the gift of singleness. Okay, like if you think if you struggle with porn, you do not have the gift of singleness. If you've ever had a if you've had like a serious crush on a girl when you were not in middle school, you do not have the gift of singleness. And that doesn't necessarily mean that like, okay, shoot, I'm going to make it a life's mission to get married now because I'm not meant to stay single. It simply means that the time will come for you, and don't go haywire on just telling yourself that you're going to be single, because that's most likely not the path for you, because God will make it very, very clear to you if your life is going to be that of singleness. And if it is, all the power to you. Personally, I don't feel like I'm gonna miss out on much. I'm single right now, and I do enjoy working hard. I do enjoy studying, YouTube, drawing, more studying, more studying. Man, I love studying, honestly. um, but at some point, I'm going to be hitched, to keep it simple. Um, Now, Paul does say if you are trying to stay single but you're burning with passion, and the situation is right. I don't really know what that would mean, but if you're burning with passion, it is better to marry at that point than to try to say no and then down the line you just fall into sin. And it's better to just begin life and to begin starting a family even when you're not ready, because it's a walk with the Lord, it's a walk with your significant other, and you grow because the season is now. To delay it, it's not good. Like even as a Indian culture, um, traditionally, when the time is right, finances are set, the age is appropriate, you shouldn't delay, simply because tradition, but also like according to Paul, don't burn with passion, bro. Like trying to find the perfect woman is just not gonna happen. God is gonna pair you with someone who's going to challenge you, and it's not gonna be the storybook perfect. It will, in God's eyes, it will be perfect, literally a match made in heaven. and it'll be sweet. Um, but I just know these stories, like when people say, like, the night after you get married, you think to yourself like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Because you realize you see the person who you married for the first time, like with like fresh eyes, and it's crazy. And I don't obviously I don't know how it goes. Uh, it's not gonna be perfect, but when you're in that relationship, that's what you signed up for, and she or he is now your anchor in life, your anchor in your journey. Obviously, for men, this is gonna mean something different for us. There, like there are certain rules for us as masculine men and having responsibilities in the house that we take care of. For example, we do not emotion dump on our wives. It is good to communicate. It is good to tell her about your personal feelings, but we do not emotion dump and make her feel like she has to carry you. That is not what men do. And other stuff like that. I might make another video about that at a separate time. But when we do come to this area of hard hearts and emotions, this is where like the idea of like the problem rather of divorce comes in. And in Matthew 19, Jesus actually does take a very strong stance on divorce. He says that anyone who divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, and marries another woman commits adultery. So obviously we knew, divorce is bad. But like, I can't believe with my own head that like Jesus said that like if they like cheat on you, you can divorce them. That's just like, whoa, okay. I actually didn't know that. So it's kind of sad though, because if you get married and your soul connects with another person, and that person divorces you, and then you're just like, dang, okay, I guess I gotta divorce you now. So then you divorce, and then you get the whole like remarrying process. Like that's just so sad, bro. Like my heart really goes out for people who go through that, because that's tough. Personally, I don't think I'd be able to do that. Like I'd get out and I just think to myself, ooh, this hurts. I'm gonna go work real quick, and then 30 years later I wake up like, okay. Oh man. That suck. But um this is one case where Jesus says divorce, like honestly. Um but divorce is a very serious topic. And it's so unacceptable how people will have genuinely difficult situations, difficult strains on the marriage, right? And their heart is just hard. They want to open the relationship. They want to do their own thing. They don't want to offer their bodies together to each other. Or not even their bodies, just their hearts, their souls. Like just talk. They feel so uncomfortable. They build piece by piece such a rigid hatred for the other person that it's just unbearable. Um, and it's really just the fault. The fault just falls on both of them equally. Equally, like in that relationship, especially the man though. Although I still believe it's equal responsibility on both to uncover and unpack what's wrong and to address it together, to go through it, because the whole idea of marriage is, like I said earlier, it's an anchor. And no matter what strain you go through, be it financial, be it whatever nonsense that you go through, you're a team at this point. And you carry the other through it. As a woman, you encourage, you you smile. When you think of um, Ruth, Ruth um, was was a beautiful, attractive woman, and before she was married, um, there was this man. Oh man, what was his name? His name was like uh, not Uriah. That's Bathsheba's husband. Oh no. You know what'd be funny? Since this video is so long, I'm just gonna go look it up right now. Sorry, I'm wearing short shorts. I didn't expect to be getting up. Okay. You like my One Piece background? It's Luffy, bro. Let's see. Essentially, what happens is that um, the man was not making a decision, and this decision he was not making was to man up and ask Ruth to marry him. So I'm gonna search up Ruth's Bible husband. Boaz. Yeah, it was Boaz. So Boaz was this man, and he wasn't man enough to ask Ruth to marry him, to ask her for his hand. So what happened is that one night at a party, um, he was getting drink and he was like getting drunk, just feeling very sleepy. But before the party, Ruth's mother told Ruth, "Hey Ruth, put on a striking dress, put on a knockout dress, go to the party, and you see Boaz, just sleep next to him, not sleep with him, just sleep next to him and seduce him essentially." And that's what she did. When Boaz was feeling very woozy out of it, he found this pile of hay, sat down, and Ruth came and just like probably slept with like her hand in his chest like this. I don't know. I'm just making it up. It's probably not good to make up stuff that's not explicitly stated in the Bible, but like, bro, like she was like straight up seducing him. Like, it's not like straight up. Like, I don't think they did anything sus that night, but like after that night, like Boaz like, all right, I'm gonna just do the thing I need to do, and then he asked Ruth to marry her, and then they got the job done. Ruth, like a female's job, encourage, guide, be happy, be a light, be an energy source, rather than an energy drainer for your husband. Um, just as in Genesis, it says man needs a helper, and that word helper is just so cute to me. It just makes my heart glow, like helper, and it's not really in a derogatory sense. It's not really like in a, oh, women are individuality. What about my own choices? Yes, my job as a husband is to respect you fully. I respect your business as a woman. Whatever you choose to do, it will be so beautiful to watch you grow this amazing business out of your own hands and provide for the family. Oh man, that image is of like a beautiful, faithful woman just working on something, not for herself, but for the sake of her children, for me, for the land that we will live on. But still, at the end of the day, she jumps into my arms and smiles and says, "Look, um, I did this for you, and of course, everything I do would be for the family too, for her, for my love for her." Um, but now the next kind of interesting topic here is, as a man, you know, we have a stages of where our focus should go, of where our worship should go. So, at the top, we worship. You tell me. You tell me. What at the top do we worship? The second thing we respect, we hold reverence in our lives for, is going to be our wives. And obviously, if you don't have a wife yet, dang, bro, I guess this doesn't apply to you just yet. Um, After your wife, after you cherish her, you next cherish your children. And you read Ephesians 6, 4. Oh, it is Ephesians 6, 4. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. It doesn't really say in Ephesians that it's the mother's children to train your children in the training and instruction of the Lord. Like the Bible teachings. First off, Bible school, like at VBS, like at church, Bible school is like nonsense. Like you send your kid there, they bring back a coloring sheet, and they learned half of a Bible story. as fathers, we teach them theology. Like by the age of 12, like they should be able to converse with university students on topics in theology. And I think personally, like myself, as I think I'm a very, very bad knowledge. I like a very little by biblical knowledge at my age of 19. Like I should have so much more, but I just never studied. 8 years old, 9 years old, I never looked. I remember at that age, I would be proud of myself for reading entire Bible picture books. And then I'd have like 3 Bible picture books by different companies. And I'd read them all and be so proud of myself for reading the Bible and knowing all these stories. Those picture books don't have like even 1/3 of the stories in the Bible. If we get stories too, like theological understandings, debates, topics, the beauty of God. This is the job of the father, and don't just leave it on the mother to train all that. That's your responsibility. Like, you ever heard of Paul Washer, this very famous preacher on the topics of masculinity and marriage? He said this very, very uncomfortable thing, but he said that when you wake up early, you go to work and you work hard and you work tirelessly from 9 to 5, and then you drive home from your long commute and you open the door, you take a deep breath, because at 6:06 p.m. that's when you clock in and your workday starts. That's when you make sure your wife feels loved. That's when your children know, when you kiss your wife, that you're not going anywhere. That's when your son, who just lost a baseball game, knows that next time he's going to demolish the other team because you're going to tell him how to pitch. And it's that time where you glorify God by being the father of your family. So that's all very nice and important. But for many of us, we're still single, and we don't have a wife yet, and we're looking for the goal. Like, bro, I want to be real. Like, if you don't have a girlfriend who you genuinely think is gonna be your wife, or if your girlfriend is very like sus and you don't like her, break up. And then for the rest of us who's still single, do not focus on finding one girlfriend, bro. Please, 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 please spare yourself from the pain, from the time, from the emotional. Do not look for a girlfriend, bro. Please. The time will come where she will waltz in. I'm not gonna get into the details, but um, and when that time comes, God will orchestrate everything. You'll be fine. But please don't search for a girlfriend, bro. Like, don't search for the wife. Don't make the wife your mission. And this goes more than just looking for a girlfriend, right? Like, you're building a business. Don't make the money so that you can build a family for your wife. Don't make the wife the end goal, the trophy, the point of worship. Because getting married will not fix your porn addiction. That's a big surprise to so many people. Getting married will not fix your loneliness. Genuinely. It's not the solution. The solution itself is internal, it's in your brain. The mental health is here. The positive thoughts start here. The happiness is here. The goals, the achievements, it starts here in your mind when you make that decision to shut up and enjoy life now, like to live life now, and to work hard and enjoy the systems you have now and just build and build and build, and things will come in its due time. I promise you now, like 10 years from now, my life is going to be so different from being in this room with this candle. It's going to be so different. And bro, like, I'm not going to have times like this again, and I'm going to low-key miss this. And times when I go to downtown with my friends, when I just go for random hikes with like these friends from college, go to farms to buy raw milk for the first time, like just live life and work hard. You know, times when I'm like gonna be sat down for 8 hours studying chemistry alone. Times when I will be looking through my computer at a PDF for physics. Um, what fun times, bro! And when you know you're not gonna be single for your whole life, like enjoy and build, live. Please don't make the search for a girlfriend the point, because when you get it, it's not going to fulfill you. And also, you are just draining your energy, draining your life, the beautiful life that you have right now. So please, you probably know this, but when you're aloof, when you do not care about finding it, it will come to you just like money. Okay? So please, just chill. Just vibe. Study the Bible. Work hard. Work really, really, really hard. Work hard that it's uncomfortable. That when the days you just don't feel like working, you still just get up and work, and it gets easier. Cause it's like a skill. Um, Going back to the family now. Um, the world is very anti-family. The world is against family. The world just hates family. The world is anti-masculinity, it's anti-femininity, it's anti-children, legitimately. um, the world is not our friend in this case, and it's up to us to stand by the word and fight for values that we know are good. And yes, as academics, we read papers, we read science, we read things that will build us up in terms of knowledge, but that's still worldly knowledge. The main knowledge comes from the Bible. The foundation of what is right and just comes from the Bible. And when the world comes and says nonsense, like you can only imagine like the LGBTQ, but even more than that, people coming in and saying, no man, use contraceptives. Don't wait until the natural period of which your wife is infertile. Don't wait for that period. Just do whatever you want and then have a man-made substance just block that, and then so you can have complete freedom to do whatever you want. No. Um no. First of all, it's plastic. It's just nasty. Second of all, I will wait, because things that are sweet like that, just it's worth waiting for. And you use that time to pray and fast and come closer to God. If you don't want 15 children, just use a shred of restraint, and hopefully you as a couple will go through that journey together, uh, which will be very wholesome. But when you train that, you get stronger together from that restraint, from that practice, from that journey together. Now I'm just gonna go through my notes because I just talked for a very long time, and yeah, man, like I really wanted to do this video for a very, very long time. And these notes I'm looking at are from 2-3 months ago. I I think I answered everything. So no, from Paul's word, it is not bad to marry. In fact, Paul encourages it in certain situations. It's just his opinion to be single, but there's a 99% chance, even for just anyone who exists, there's a 99% chance that you're not have the gift of singleness. So, as a final send off, relax, work hard, don't worry about having a wife, don't worry about getting a wife. Second of all, don't be paranoid into thinking that you're doomed to a life of singleness. And if you perceive it as being doomed, then you don't have the gift of being single. Of of being single. And thirdly, divorce is okay for Christians, surprisingly. If they are sexually immoral, which I'm like, yeah, pack your bags, get out of there. To protect your own heart, to be completely honest, because Jesus is looking out for us. To protect our own hearts and not to be putting ourselves in situations that we are not meant to handle. Because marriage should be a beautiful thing. It should be difficult. It should be tough. It should be hot. It should be spicy. But it should not be impossible. Like genuinely impossible. It should not be your partner is cheating on you level impossible. But with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a like. If you didn't, why are you still here? This video is super long. Dislike though, and tell me why, please, so I can improve. And if you made it this far, leave a comment. What is a copper IUD?